Alright guys, quick one today. We'll do a little bit of PowerShell. So what we've got here is we have, if I do a dir, my GitHub repositories. If I just do a CD on this one, just to drop back over here, do a quick dir. Dir, as you know, is get child item in PowerShell. If I do a -recurse on this, what you're going to see is every single file inside all my Git repositories. Okay, the project for today is we are going to group all of the files by the file type, and then we are going with file type, then we are going to count those files. All right, so how are we going to do that? Well, first of all, we know how to actually do get child item, which is fine. So if we get child item and we want to do a path, and we want to do this for a directory, okay, and then we want to go off and say we're going to choose just files because we're not bothered about folders, and we're going to do recurse. All right, and we're going to put this in something called $files, which is going to equal that. That's all cool. And then what we're going to do is going to wrap this thing in a function, because we're going to build this up. So we've got a function. We're going to call the function name get dash file size by extension. So that's the file type, and the parameters we're going to use. We're going to actually fill that directory in there. We're going to do string, and the string type is going to be the directory that we're going to fill this. So let's go pop that code into here, our $files. Okay, at the end of all this is we're going to actually print $files. And we're going to go run get dash file size by extension, and the directory we're going to use is we'll do this directory here. That's good. Let's go and paste that in here. Let's go and put that in some double quotes because this is going to be treated as a string, and let's go and run that and see what we've got. Okay, so we've got the recurse going in a function. That's good. Let's cancel this off because that's a lot of files. So we want to go and filter this out and group it together. So actually what we want to do is we want to group the files by extension. Now we've actually got the files, so let's do a $grouped files down here. That's fine, and we're going to do this as $files. That's all our list of files that are coming from the recurse above, and we're going to use this special command called group-object, and we're going to group object by a property, and the property we're going to group it by is the extension property, because that's coming from the get child item above. Wonderful. Okay, so let's go and run that and see what we're actually going to get. Let's just go and run a $grouped files as the output and rerun that process. Oh, okay, cool. So it's kind of grouped everything by extension, which is 2,849 files, but it's not actually going to split those out. So let's go and get rid of that line down here. And we're going to need to put a little for each loop in here. So what we're going to want to do, let's have a think about this, is display the count of files per extension. Okay, so let's have a look at the completed code down here. We have a function called getFileCount_by_extension. And what we're doing inside here is we're going to build out these files with get child item recurse. There's the grouping of the files. We're going to load these in with a for each loop and a custom PS object. We're then going to pull that function down here, run it, and we're going to load in my GitHub directory that's got a whole bunch of GitHub repos in there. And running that, we are going to get a list of files by their extension. Wonderful. So we've got some bats, some biceps, some BMP, some CSVs from various different Git repositories. Now, what we might also want to do is actually go and count the sizes of these files, kind of add them all together. So we need to kind of add stuff to this for each group down here. So what we want to do is not to get file count by extension. We want to change this to get file size by extension. So let's go and change this to get file size by extension down here. Okay, so into this for each loop, we're going to add another block of code. We're going to change this around a bit. I've got some code that I already made earlier over here. Let's go and paste that in there. We've now got a total size, which is going to be the group.group measure object property length sum.sum. So it's basically going to take every individual file within a specific grouping of files, take the extension, the property length, and the length is actually the file size because it's the length of the file, not the actual file name, but the length of the whole binary of the file. Add that together, then sum that up a little bit more. What we've also got to do is manipulate the way that that data comes out, because the readable size here needs to be a math round total size dividable by 1 gig with a decimal point of 2 to round that all up. If you don't do that, it outputs in bytes by default, and we don't really want to see that. We want to see this in gigabytes. That's great. And now we can kind of whack that all together in our PS custom object. We can have the name of the group, the total size, which is the readable size in gigabytes down here, which is that variable that's being passed in, and we're going to go count that with group.count to also count the amount of files. Now if we go and run the same thing again, run all this lovely code here and get that file size by extension, execute it all up. Whoopsie, not recognized by the name of command. Get file size by extension, get file size t by extension. Another typo there. Let's go and fix that typo, go and run that, and we should have, oh look at that, a lovely output of all the different file types by its count of the amount of files. I've actually got 0.24 gigabytes worth of files that have no extension whatsoever, and we've also got the size of those files. So there's a little quickie for you about how to actually go and grab a bunch of files in a directory with PowerShell, count the amount of files you've got, and actually also combine them all together to be able to see the outputs of all those files and the sizes that they're actually going to take up on your system. Stick around for more tech tutorials. I'll see you next time.
And you know the routine, hashtag like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this video and will join me next time. Goodbye.